So I'm recording and we are live. Guys, thank you for coming out. Is everybody hearing us right now? We just want to have some yes, 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 yes. If you can hear us. Math?
Yes, sir.
Math is there with us. So today, guys, thank you for coming out. Again, we have a room very full. And like I've said, today I've decided to bring up Matt because Matt has been ahead of the game in terms of Facebook audience and Facebook audience insights. More than a year ago, right now, if I remember, your first course came out like in January 2015 or something like that.
Boy, you're gonna put me to the test here, but I want to say it's actually no, I think it was just December of last year. So
December,
it seems
so
like
it's almost a
yeah,
year, yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, I thought, guys, that it was the Matt was the best guy to come and talk to about it because he knows all and everything, and also how to make a group of audience of targeting also that works very good, and especially now, like you've seen, like a lot of people are complaining lately that Facebook changed again their algorithm. Things are not working for some, and all this kind of thing. But at the end, everything starts with a good audience and a good targeting, and this can do a huge change in the way you're gonna get results from that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let Matt. Go and show you how he is doing the Facebook audience insight and how he's planning his ad sets regarding that. So, Matt, I'm gonna switch you to presenter when you're ready.
Yep, go ahead, man.
And here we go.
Can
Here
you
we
see
go.
it?
Yes, sir.
It keeps notifying me that we're maxed out here, so that's
Yeah, we're
pretty cool.
maxed out.
I couldn't get that to stop for a second. So, all right, first of all, and here it goes again.
Yeah, again.
There you go. This go to meeting, man. We got to get you over to go to webinar. You know what
Yeah, yeah,
that's like.
it's time now.
I'm telling. God, hold on one second.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that you need to leave the fire and jump into the frozen water or something like that. So you're not going to get any better over there. At least you can have more people in the room. So what's up,
Yeah.
everybody? My name's Matt Schmidt. I like to do webinars a little bit different than most people. I shouldn't say that, but a lot of people. I don't like slides. I use slides of like notes that I think are important for you to write down. So I'll pop back over to the slide deck and just kind of write some stuff. I was very happy when I saw Phil also using the white slide deck. I don't do anything fancy. I learned it straight from Donald Wilson. The white slide deck is very effective, and keep it clean, keep it simple, stupid. So what I want to talk to today is I want to kind of establish. Let me switch over here. Let me establish kind of like a baseline of where we're at. So whenever I jump on somebody else's webinar, I want to talk to the people and see exactly what's your experience with audience insights. If you've taken my course, I see some of my people on here. So that's great. Just let me know in the chat box. Like, yes, I know a basic amount of information with audience insights. I'm good at it. Here we got some Pi scale people in here as well. Or give me a no in the chat box and tell me that that you haven't had any experience with it, and so on and so forth. Just so I kind of like feeding off the audience a little bit here. So just go ahead and pop that in the chat box if you. There we go. See, we got somebody that knows nothing. So that's really important. And some people that know the basics and things like this. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask for a lot of feedback for you guys, so that way I can give you a lot of valuable information for you. So I kind of feed off of it. I actually watch the chat box more than anything else. And there you go. Okay, cool. So we got some baseline things. So that's what I wanted to do first. And then I'm going to review kind of the quote-unquote old strategy. Like Phil said, that we have done this for a while now, right? So December is when I came out with the course. I had been doing it since about April of last year when it came out. It was this big mystery box that nobody knew what was in it, and it seems like light years ago in terms of the information that you could get from it when it first came out. So they're constantly evolving it. They're constantly putting new information into it. And they're also you're changing up the way that things are affiliated with each other. If you're on my list, you've seen that before. I've sent out updates of what I'm seeing, kind of like how you can get a lot of noise in there now versus when you were, you know, 8 months or 9 months ago. They've entered a lot more noise into the game because they are better at correlating interests between each other, right? So you'll have some of the mega interests like Walmart or Amazon or some of these things that correlate through the entire population, uh, that they'll start creaming up to the crop sometimes. And so what the objective now is to cut that out as much as possible, right? Because that noise will lead you down the wrong path if you're not paying attention to it. So we'll go over the old strategy and some of the rules that I've had change over time, just in case you guys are not on my list. You can get up to date. And then some of the new things that we've been testing, and me and my partners have been testing, that have gotten a lot of great results that I haven't showed a lot of people. So that'll be some valuable information for you guys as well. Actually, I've only shown like 20 people that I did last night, and they loved it. So this will be some really new content that I'm putting out for everybody.
Great.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It was good timing. So
Yeah.
here's the Audience Insight tool, and if you're not familiar with it, it's in your ads account. I have to be sensitive around what I show inside my ads manager, but you just go from your ads manager, sorry, if I can talk, over in the top navigation bar, there's a button for Audience Insight, and it'll pop you up. Now, the caveat to it, and I think, Phil, you could answer this for me probably a little bit better.
Hmm.
It used to be that you had to be within the United States, and had to have your Facebook set to U.S. English. So I don't know if that's changed. I know they rolled it out to a couple different locations, but if you don't have it in there, that might be the case.
I mean, right now, most of the information I have it also for my Canadian account. The only thing that I don't have right now is all the behaviors information. So in the
Okay.
advance is I need to go into Quaya to get all the information, the behaviors information.
Yeah, and so a lot of the behavior information is from companies that only do research in the United States. So that's why it doesn't have it out there. You know, some of those Axion and some of the other companies that they buy third-party information from and bring it into their ads manager and then correlate it out is because of the third parties are only getting information within the United States, and I think that's changing. Also, by the way, a good thing to note is that when you use that third-party information, you can expect your ads to be slightly higher than they would be without it. So if you're intersecting. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm learning GoToWebinar. I didn't know what that red was in the chat box. Sorry, threw me off for a second there. I'll go to meeting. Sorry. So if you intersect or if you include behavior information, you can expect your ads just to be slightly higher. And there's no set number, but they are. You do basically get the cost passed on to you from Facebook to you to account for that information. So what we're going to start doing is I'm just going to go into a niche. We're going to dig down into it and show you the old way of how I would get to really highly targeted information. So we start over here in the demographics. You can see I'm in the United States, 150 million to 200 million active people, just actively associated with people in the United States. Obviously, there's more people than that, but this just shows you how active people are within a certain region. And then if you narrow down into a niche, then it will start growing from there. If you remember, there was an article about Zuckerberg saying that there was 1 billion people that
Mm,
logged onto Facebook the other day, on one day.
that's
So that
crazy.
that's the kind of information that they can dive down into. So they're very, very aware of what's going on in their platform, right?
Mm.
So let's start going into. I like to do firefighters. Is just like an example. There's been a lot of shirts that have been sold and a lot of apparel to be sold and things like that, and a lot of equipment that you could sell to the firefighter niche is obviously very passionate. It's a very high-risk job, so there's a lot of passion around that, right? So what I want to do real quick is start pointing out some demographic data. When you're looking at this, and you start to notice that these two ad sets right here, well, that's not going to help. First of all, let me zoom in a little bit. And you can see that the audience that I've selected basically almost aligns with what we're looking at for Facebook as a whole. Now, if you understand the niche, you know that there's more male firefighters than there are female firefighters, right?
Mhm.
So in this instance is where I'm going to start knowing that I'm going to direct my ad right away to one of the genders. I'm not going to go for both people because there's going to be, if you're looking for firefighters, you're going to have to go to a third party, know that there's more male firefighters than female firefighters. You're not going to get a great result. Sometimes when you're looking at this, or like if you were doing like a TV show and you were trying to sell stuff to people that watch TV and you saw this, then you could easily run the same ad to both genders, right? But immediately right off the bat, you're going to have to alter your ad from gender to gender here because this is going to be a lot of likes, what I call likes by association.
Mm.
You're associated in this audience because of somebody close to you or something, your interaction with the niche. I posted on Facebook a while back how I'm starting to get ads for, as soon as I removed myself from my 9 to 5 listed on Facebook, I started getting ads for nursing jobs. And the reason because I've been in the nursing niche for years now, and they think that I'm a nurse because of my interaction with it. So I'm including now in the nursing audience, and so I'm getting ads for jobs in like North Carolina for nurses. So you have to be aware of that and make sure as a marketer that you're cutting out the riffraff, right? So I would immediately, if I was going after a firefighter, I would target the men here, right? Because we're going to it, we're looking outside of audience insights and we're understanding that firefighters are mostly men. So now I'm going to look at this audience here and start to try to understand something. When I'm beginning my ads, I want to get down to the core group of the niche, right? So you can see that there's 3 to 3.5 million active people, monthly active people. And I can see that 25, 27, 21, 15, 8, 4. My rule, and this is just the rule that I've gone by, and we've seen a lot of success with it, is cutting out any demographic that doesn't achieve a 10% mark or more. So that would cut out 8% and 4%. Now, 12% of a 3 million person audience is obviously a lot of people, right? But what I'm doing is I'm starting at the core, I'm trying to find success, and then I'm going to scale out. There's almost always, it would depend, I mean, unless you're targeting moms who play softball who have 4 children, you're going to have a lot of people who follow in, and fall into an audience. So you can start small and work your way out. So I'm going to cut this group out. There were these 2 groups out that were below that 10% mark. Now there's some understandings here as well that 18 to 24, they may or may not be firefighters. And in further research into the niche, I've learned that a lot of people leave high school and become firefighters and they don't go to college. So there is probably some actual firefighters in here that we can target. So there's just understanding your niche. That's secondary information that the data cannot obviously provide for you. It doesn't just tell you here's the number of people that are employed within this niche. So it's your job to go outside of that to kind of look down deeper. So we are going to keep that in. And now I'm going to go over to the next tab to try to find the interests. So now you're going to have tons of information. Anybody that's played around in this tool, and it's going to be very valuable for you. But there's a caveat here. The affinity that you're looking at is going to tell you how associated or how likely somebody who likes this interest is to be associated with this interest. That's the 10,000 foot view of the affinity. So somebody who likes fire engineering is 17 times more likely than the average Joe to like this interest. Okay, so that gives you a real good correlation there, right? But what I've learned is that over time, we used to say 13 and above was anything 13x and above. But as the months have passed, and like I said in the beginning, Facebook has gotten better and better and better at correlating interests between each other. You're going to have to cut out a lot of stuff. This one, AR500 armor, is a good indication that that is working, right? It's the #1 relevant because of its massive size. Relevancy is a mixture of size and affinity. So they're included in this, but that has nothing to do with firefighters, right? This, I mean, maybe firefighters carry this kind of stuff, but that guy's not a firefighter. These guys aren't firefighters, right? they're included in there because firefighters like it, but targeting that interest is going to get us bad results. So understanding that, we need to go deeper. So what I like to do now is click on affinity and look for a decently sized interest to chase down. And right here is going to be a good bet right here. This is kind of like a long tail keyword. What I do is kind of just look through here to try to find an interest. Now the one thing that you have to be aware of here is that these might get really small depending on what you're looking at. So kind of just find your way down. And you can see that we have some that are 20 and above, which is going to be my mark from now on. I used to say 13, now I say 20 and above. So what I want to do is find one. So we got that fire cam. Yeah, and that one doesn't even pop up. What's FDIC? There's my fire engineering. And here's a cool thing too. These are general rules that I go by, right? But if you have to dig down and you have to go a little bit below, you can still use that as a way to spike up. So I draw a lot of these lines, and then people get frustrated because if you do it in a niche that's not like the biggest niche in the world, you might have a little bit of difficulty getting some of these to show up in the audience insight tool. But let's just try Paratech. Here's Paratech Fire Rescue and Equipment, right? So I'm going to cut that out, and now I'm going to look at the affinity levels. I'm going to pop back on relevancy. I'm going to see some massive affinity levels, right? Now I did that a little quick, so let me go ahead and back up a little bit. So I got my niche that you can find, and for the most part, your broad word's going to be in here, right? So if any kind of like broad niche, you're probably going to find it in here. But you really have to define a niche. People will be like jewelry. That's not a niche. That's a category of products that you want to sell. You want to sell. Facebook is good for selling into niches. You could do dogs, but that's not really a niche either. That's a category. There's pit bulls. That's a niche. Yorkies. That's a niche, and so on and so forth. And they're underneath the category of dog. So I want to do firefighters. So I couldn't find anything here that was really high in the relevancy. So I want to go ahead and pop that back up. This number one guy right here has Paratech Fire and Rescue Equipment. And if I want to just pop that open just to check out what that is, firefighters, right? So immediately I got firefighters. So I'm using this interest now, and I don't keep it in here. What I'm using this interest now is to leverage that. I've gone deep. I know that these people are highly associated with the niche firefighter. So I want to go ahead and go like this. Now my affinity is way higher. Now I want to go back in the relevancy, and all my affinities are way above 20, right? And that's going to be varying on what your sometimes you'll hit 20 and above. Sometimes you won't even hit 20. You got to do it over again. And sometimes you just have astronomical findings, right? And some of these aren't going to be the biggest interests in the world. And what you can do is just kind of scope through here to try to find one. Like fire engineering, I know I've sold a lot of shirts using that interest. That's a great interest to go after. Fire apparatus, like a magazine, that's another thing that we know are good interests to go after, right? And that's really the method that we've had to this point, is finding these interests that are super highly targeted, that are high affinity, because we know that they're highly associated with the niche. So we could go through here, and almost everything that we click on is going to be associated with firefighters in some sense, because we know that they're highly affiliated with this interest, which is highly affiliated with firefighters. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right, guys, let me know in the chat box. Give me a yes in the chat box if that made sense for you. Cool. And somebody said made sense about or talked about writing interest down. I never really do that because I've never had to do that, I guess, because once I get to here, I only mess with like 2 interests to get to this point, and then I go and I have 2 screens that I actually have 3 screens, but I don't have one working. I'll have my ads manager or my power editor open on one, and I'll have this open on the other, and then I'll basically sit here And I'll be like, all right, this goes in the ads manager, this goes in the ads manager, this goes in the ads manager, and so on and so forth. And what I'll do is I'll go through here and I'll try to get some highly targeted interest that I know we're going to go after. And when you do, here's the cool thing. And somebody asked me, how many interests do I put in? Well, here's the thing. These are sorted by relevancy, right? So that's a mixture of your Facebook audience size and the affinity. These guys up here are going to be bigger for the most part than a lot of the people down here, and with the caveat of this fire engineering. And especially like other niches. One that I've used a lot offhand is Firehouse.com. So this will get me a little bit bigger ones. So it's the same method to get to this point. And then I use Firehouse because it's a website, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, the evolution of things, in a second. So this one, you can tell they're all above 20. They obviously everything almost has firefighter in it that I'm looking at, right? Almost every single one of them has fire in the title. So these guys are massive though. So what you'll go, I'll do this one, this one, this one, this one, and I'll get down to like somewhere in between 5 and 10, and then I won't be able to add anything to the audience size because these guys are the biggest and the highest correlated interest. If I can talk today. And so they encompass a lot of the people that are down here in the smaller interests. So the one thing I don't want to do is include interests that don't add anything to my audience size as I'm starting from the biggest ones. And some people go, well, how much would you go after? What do you start with? I like to start with a lot of people because I like to sell a lot of stuff. I don't want to start with, just a small amount of people. I don't want to start with 200,000 people. I'll start with 1 million, and then I'll segment my ads to get down to individual ads having 200, 300,000 people in it. But I don't like you can't really test an entire audience if you're only focusing on a fraction of the entire thing, right? How can you sell them to firefighters if you only target 50,000 people and that's it? You can't. You don't know if your offer's going to work. It just might have not worked to this interest. So start big, segment, and I'm sure Phil has told you guys about how to segment and things like that. And then you target all those to try to see if it works with some testing. I like to sell I don't sell in niches that don't have 1 million people in it. Plus, I will sell my biggest niche right now has like 50 or 60 million people in it. It's a good portion of the United States.
Which makes sense also because let's say you're using a website to conversions, and you'll need a minimum of 1 million people to make it work. If you're going down that, it's going to be very difficult also to get like some good conversion rate, conversion cost at least, because Facebook doesn't have enough data to process all the information. And
Right.
I've ran like very tiny niche and like 700K and very precise, and but you will never be able like to sell as much. So there's no way you can to scale. At a certain point this will break. So if you're looking for let's say to sell over year after year to the same niche, you will be selling this to this small to this portion of people, which is very small. You're gonna be you will need to renew at least your product, or you will kill the audience because they will be saturated of all the ads you're going to send them. So
Yep.
so it's why like there's two good point on that. Is one, if you want to scale, you don't have any choice to have more than 1 million people in your audience, and the other side is, if you want Facebook works for you the right way, you will need to have more than 1 million.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we said it to somebody earlier before, right? We're saying it's about what your approach is. So if your approach is to sell into, like, dogs are a great example, right?
Mhm.
I sell a lot of stuff to dogs, especially right now. but I do it in a way that I can go have the same item go from dog to dog to dog to dog to dog to dog, to breed to breed to breed to breed.
Mm.
If you sell something very specific, like a Dotson necklace, you obviously can't take that to the next breed. So what you would want to do is have a Dotson breed, the same approach, the same ads, the same structure of everything leading up to the offer, the item that you're selling, and then just change the item.
Mm.
Whereas I can go and just change, all I have to do is keep everything, and then I just change the interest. So kind of like further down the funnel of setting everything up, I'm changing it on the interest level. You guys would be changing it on the offer level. Does that make sense, guys? And somebody asked, how do you make such a large audience when these interests are so small? These interests are not small. This, like Firehouse.com, has got 364,000 people in it. It's going to have 150,000 people maybe on. I don't know. These numbers seem to be the slower parts of what's getting upgraded. But if you plug these in, it'll show you a number relative to the size of your the size of what's active on that interest right now. Yes, it's very targeted, Rob. Because what we're going to be doing, Rob asked if it's targeted. So what we're doing, guys, is we're cutting out to get, we're trying to cut out as much of the likes by association as possible, right? You're going to still have likes by association, but what you're doing is trying to minimize that as much as possible, and that's what we did with the interest cutting. I'm sorry, the demographic cutting, and then we're doing the interests that are, back in my SEO days, I would call longer tail keywords, right? Like things that are very much heavily associated with the niche that only somebody would like if they were inside of the niche. If I was going to do like the New York Fire Department, that's going to be like the celebrity of fire departments, right? And that's going to have a lot of people that like that aren't necessarily in that niche. So that's why we go after things like websites and magazines and things like these long tail keywords that would only be followed by people who are inside the niche. And we can do a couple niche examples kind of like in the Q&A section of this, but these are the kinds of things you want to go after. Now I want to talk about where this is evolving to. And somebody's asking again, only passionate pizza, of course. So if somebody's asking about is it targeted? Yeah, I mean, it is. It's worked over and over and over again. And you can even find some of these ones are going to be your best likely one to have the lowercase interest, which is the precise interest, because Facebook seems to first put it as a precise, and once it gets to a certain level, and if there is enough broad of an interest, a broad interest of that whatever page or whatever interest you're going after, then they'll have a broad term for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ty asks, if you combine these interests, how do you know what interests are converting and which ones are not? So that's, if you remember my buddy, if you couldn't hear, which part couldn't you hear, Helen? That's where my buddy Albert comes in, my business partner Albert comes in, where we created splits on the interest level when using PPE ads. So you got to kind of think of things as a scale in this business, right? So you think of it as a scale. If you got your pixels and you have your interests, right? So if your pixel is new, you got no weight to it, right? So you got to be as precise as possible and have as much control as possible. So you're going to be heavily weighted on this side, the two, what do they call those things? The two-sided scale or whatever. You're going to be heavily weighted on the interest side and very, very light with the pixel side. So as your pixel fires, it's going to be gathering more and more weight, and then you can go a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit broader with the interests. So when you're at a PPE level, you're not even relying on the pixel to begin with, right? You're not optimizing on the pixel. You're just tracking with the pixel. So when you're not engaged, you have no weight with your pixel. So you have to be as controlled as possible on the interest side when you're using PPE ads. Now, I can get a lot of fires doing this way, but I have to also understand I'm engaging I'm sorry, I'm optimizing for engagement, which means it's going to be as viral as possible. And the easiest thing in this world is to engage with an ad. The hardest thing in our world is to get a purchase. So you're going to have to be as controlled as possible with that PPE. But as I build up that pixel, I can start getting click to websites brought into the pix. I can get uh, website conversion ads brought into the picture, and I can start broadening my scope. And I don't have to rely on PPE anymore, even though I still use PPE to this day. I still get a ton of sales from PPE. It's a great using exactly what's in that Albert's been using for months now, and it's really really powerful to use if you know how to use it correctly, which is going to bring me into the right to the next section where we talk about what we're doing now. So is that making a lot of sense for you guys? Give me a yes in the chat box if it is, because yeah, I'm using PPE to sell physical products all day long. It's the exact same thing, guys. You're just changing the offer.
Yeah, and I think also it's a you know like you're saying, like since Facebook is this big data machine behind and it needs to be feeded, if it doesn't know anything about your audience, how it can optimize it to bring you sales, so you have to start at some point, and the PP is the best place to start when there's nothing where Facebook has no information on what you're going to sell or who are you going to target, and
Exactly.
so from that it's the best starting point, like you said. Also testing your interest there is probably the most effective way, and you will know right away if it's working or not, because you will see if people are getting engaged or not.
Hmm.
So this is especially the way to go if you're starting, especially in a new niche, or even like sometimes even if you have like a niche that is working but you're testing a product that you're not so sure. You just want
Yeah.
to see how people are getting engaged about this product, and if you see it's working well, I mean, you just switch it to click to website or a website conversion right away.
Yeah. I like to think of PPE as just kind of like the radio or the TV of today, right? You're putting it out there. You're trying to see if people respond to it, but you're not necessarily getting a purpose. You're kind of brand building,
Mm.
a purchase, I should say, not a purpose. You're brand building, right? I mean, how hard would it be to track a radio broadcast, right? Of the effectiveness of a radio broadcast. But then you're going to get, and then like click to website is like your window shoppers, right? You can get somebody clicking to the website. You're optimizing for people just to get to the website. You're not optimizing for a purchase. So you're getting people to the website. A lot of those people will leave, as we know, but you're optimizing to get to as many people as possible there. And then obviously website conversion, once you have the data information, once they know to go after, Facebook, I mean, I know people who target the United States, everybody in the United States, everyone. But their pixel is so seasoned that the pixel will lead them to a sale. So they don't use any demographics whatsoever. But when you're starting out and you're trying to build those pixels, this is where you need to go, because this is where the data is pointing you to the most engaged people in the audience. And the more and engagement isn't necessarily like buyers, but it's the best likelihood you have to find the buyers, to start gathering those audiences, to start gathering that following.
So we have a question here for from Rob. Just the one pixel, the new one recently came out in Europe, all in one pixel. Yeah, Rob, I've spoke already about that. I don't know, Matt, if you're using the new pixel. Uh,
The custom audience pixel, you mean?
yeah, the custom audience pixel, exactly.
I'm
Uh,
not using it as much as I could. I still use it for retargeting purposes. Yeah.
okay. So I've been using it like since June, and on my side, it just gave me just better results than the other Pixel. The reason why is, and what I came to this conclusion is, before Facebook was only targeting your conversion page. So if you had an add to cart, will be only the add to cart, and if it was only a conversion, it was only a conversion. But the new custom audience pixel is like the super Google Analytic pixel that tracks every single thing in your website and every single behaviors in your website. So the amount of data that you're gathering there it doesn't compare to anything that conversion tracking basically that was installed on your checkout page would gather in terms of information. So with that, Facebook will help to leverage in the best direction when you're doing the optimization by conversion pixel by doing that. And the kind of granularity that you can go is quite crazy, and especially when you're testing a new campaign. Let's say you want to do instead of doing a PPE campaign, what you can do a website to conversion campaign, but you can use the view content pixel, which means that this view content will be on the product page. So it's going to be fired each time someone click on your product. So this will show an interest, like you were saying, someone is doing like I don't know, we call that like window licking. So they are going in front of the shot. They're saying, okay, this really interests me, you know. So this is the kind of thing that Facebook is triggering when you're doing a view content pixel. And after that, if you have enough amount of information on this pixel, you can switch to add to cart, because now let's say you got like this 20K people that went into your product that you know that they're interested. And Facebook now with the add to cart pixel, we optimize back this. So since Facebook has enough information, it will be able like to leverage this, and you can go like that by step on from the add to cart then to the checkout. So this is really a multi-step strategy that you can use if you don't want to go the PPE way, let's say, because at the end, you know, it's gonna drive you traffic, and it's gonna gather the interest, also the data on the interest based on the product page directly, you know. So so this is what I find very interesting with the new Pixel. And also the other thing is you have to install it once. You don't have to install any more after that. You know, you don't need to install multiple Pixel for each products and all this kind of thing. Same thing
Mhm.
also for retargeting. Retargeting, it's like it's almost you can retarget any pages, and also you don't have to worry if you started late or install it late like it used to be. You know, before you needed to go the day you start a campaign, you needed to install right away your retargeting pixel. Right now, you don't need to do that anymore, because Facebook will record all the backlog data from that, and will be able to bring back all the visitors that came at first. So so it's very powerful, but the normal conversion pixel still have its place, that's for sure. It means if you want to be like very granular in terms of the information that you need in the checkout, you'll still be able to use this conversion pixel. So this is it.
Yeah, no, it is a great update that they needed to do. We have the capability of, like you said, like the retargeting on any page, right? Now it's just collecting all the information if you put it in the right spot in your Shopify store. So it's really powerful stuff,
Mm,
really great stuff. And then for the guys on, Viral Style and the other sites that are out there, Teespring and everything, I think it's still, I mean, the coding is still the same. You might have to update your code on their back end, but you still have that string that you're able to add to those sections in their stores. So
yeah.
cool. All right. Any other questions before we move on? So why not just offer a website conversion ad to these individuals instead of PPE? I think we covered that, but I'll say it again. Like when we have no information about the niche, when I don't have a seasoned pixel, I start with and I still do PPE ads because you still hit a different segment of the audience. You get to understand for a very cheap amount of money if the offer is good, right? If you have a better chance of getting very good performing ads right off the bat if your offer is good, right, and highly engaging, and then you can get sales and build up that pixel. Website conversion ads take a little bit of a time to build up their momentum. If you have a seasoned pixel, absolutely go ahead and start website conversion ads. We do it right off the bat. But understand too, if you have 1 million people in your audience, I'm just using million as a number, and you optimize for conversions. Facebook is going to not tell you, but it's going to select how many people out of that million are applicable to the optimizing for conversions, right? Only so many people are in that group. And then if you hit PPE, it's going to be a much broader audience because engaging is harder is easier than converting, right? So Facebook's going to deem, say it's 200,000 people out of the million as these are the conversion people. So that's why when you're running an ad, you can start to see your frequency rise when it hasn't hit that many people. And then the same thing with PPE, your frequencies going to start to rise because only so many people of that gigantic million person audience are going to be in that engagement audience. Okay? Does that make sense? That's
That
why, and just because you're in the engagement audience doesn't mean you're not in the conversion audience, or you might not even be in that deemed conversion audience, but you might still be a buyer and you're over here in the engagement audience. So if you're not running multiple types of ads, then you're losing out on potential sales. An offer is going to be hot across, 9 times out of 10, an offer is going to be, if it's a hot offer, it's going to be hot against all ad types. You just need to know how to make sure, you know how to use them. I got to get a drink of water. Hold on just 1 second.
I'm just going to complete something on that because this is a very great point that you brought in. And one thing also, that people needs to understand is when you're doing website to conversion, before getting some result, it can take like 48, 72 hours for the pixel to start getting the right audience for you to drive conversions to your website. And most of the errors that I've seen is people are setting their website to conversions, but the same day they start to tweaking it or change things or change interest or change budgeting or all this kind of thing. And soon as you change something in the website to conversion, you're screwing all the algorithm work that Facebook is doing for that. So if you want to get faster result or information about your interest or your ads, the PPE will be the best thing because PPE will take less time to work their algorithm because they're not tied to a conversion, they're tied to an engagement, and getting engagement is way faster than getting a conversion. So you can do probably multiple adjustment in a day on the PPE ad than you can do it on the website to conversion. So
Yep.
this is a very important to remember, and especially when you're starting and you don't know your audience, it's not the time to start making multiple change if you're using like the website to conversion, because you will screw your ads, you will spend a bunch of money, and you will say, okay, it's not working, but probably it is working. It's just that you're not do it the right way, or not using the tools the right way, or not enough patient to make it work for you.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and it's just understanding, you find so many people, what, for a while, past couple of years, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a second, that they were always stuck on the same type of ad. And if you do that, then you need to think outside the box more and more as time goes on. Because as we understand what's going on here more and more, we understand that using all types of ads, I mean, they're all on that list, right, for a reason. And they're effective.
Mm.
People think that PPE ads don't sell shirts, or people don't think that click to website ads don't sell shirts. And I think that's silly because that ad is obviously effective. You just need to know how to properly use it,
Mm.
right? And that's what Phil's talking about here.
That's it.
Can I run different types of ads to the same audience at the same time? Yes, absolutely. I do that right now. My best-selling physical product right now has everything and everything pointed, everything and all things, or whatever that saying is, pointed at it right now. I'm driving as much traffic to it as I possibly can.
Straight CPM.
Okay, so now I want to talk about the stuff that we've been kind of testing out over the last, and that's my last point here. Discuss the trends that I've been seeing over the last month, 2 months. We've been testing it out, getting great results from it, and that's getting more and more into the understanding of. No, okay, so we're understanding how niches are built up, right?
Mm.
We're understanding that in the firefighter niche, these are the really targeted interests. But I wanted to start stepping even further back from that and trying to understand what exactly got these interests to be built the way they are, right? So all of these interests are they're pages, right? And they were all built up to enough point to get indexed by a certain way. Either it's ad, either it's a brand, either, whatever. It's a guy like me or Phil. We're building up these interests so they get indexed. I'm in a couple of these. You can do a couple searches and my pages are in here. So they're built up in a certain manner. So I started thinking about it, and firehouse.com is actually a great interest in itself, right? So if you go to Firehouse, it's a website, right? It's been around for a while. It's got a lot of stuff going on here. And what I started thinking about is that websites that are established, that have been around forever, or businesses that are established, a couple years ago, people started telling them that they needed a Facebook page, right?
Mm.
The trend is you need a Facebook page. So they built a Facebook page. Now, the key understanding for me was that it's not like these guys are running ads like we do, right? They're not in here running like ads. They're not out here running PPE ads. They're not out here running website conversion ads. They're a gigantic page. I mean, it's huge, right? 364,000 people. That's huge. That's a lot of people, especially in the firefighter niche. It's, what do we see? 10% of the firefighters of the audience likes this page. So they got big like this for multiple reasons. The majority of their traffic probably comes to this page, and then somewhere along the line, I don't know where it is, but they probably liked their fan page through a button that was on this page, through the newsletter that was on there. And the way that they're good at marketing is through the traditional means that they have here, right? That they've been doing for, what, 15 years now, or, however long websites have been really critical to businesses. So their page is probably built up a lot through people either liking the button on their website or by seeing it indexed or suggested on Facebook. Do you guys get suggested to like pages? I get suggested to like all the different types of beer that when I worked for Anheuser-Busch, I would get suggested to like, you probably like Budweiser, you probably like the Bud Light page. So if you're listed as a firefighter, more than likely you might have this guy pop up and say, we suggest that you like this page, because Facebook wants you to like this page and interact and get yourself indexed into the firefighter audience so that marketers like us can target you. So that got me thinking that this, and it even proves out even more, because if you look at these guys, their engagement on this page is god awful. 364,000 people, and he's got 11 people that like this. 136, even 136 is nothing. He links out on everything. 257, I got pages of 10,000 people, I can get more than 257 people to like it or 51 people to share it. And they're not Facebook marketers. So we have to understand that this interest is built up with a lot of people who have liked it. They're kind of two-step, right? They like the firefighter, or what is it, firehouse.com, and then they like this fan page. Now there's a different set of people at the same time that like this kind of page. This page is ran by a marketer. You can see as there's a t-shirt on here. Sorry if this is anybody's page or your page, Phil. So you can see it even says like us here, right? So this is obviously ran by a marketer. It's got t-shirts on it. This page, the 20,000 people that are on here, that's not relatively that big, and he's linking out a lot too, but you can see that this page, and you know that this page is probably built up by the same types of traditional things that we do. A like ad, a PPE ad selling a t-shirt, right? Especially over the last, what has it been, year or so, while those have been big. And those have got driven engagement and got people to like this page. So these are two different types of people for me, right? You have the guys with actual presence outside of Facebook, whether virtual or physical, who have such an establishment in the niche that people come over here and like their page. That's a two-tiered audience, right? A two-step audience. And then you guys that just we've just been talking about it the whole time, how easy and simple it is to like something. Well, the reason that this page has 20,000 people is not because of the brand. It's slightly because of the word firefighter, right? But it's because they saw a like button and they clicked it. That doesn't mean any kind of establishment. Sorry, I feel like you keep popping up on my screen. That doesn't make them any deeper into the audience. It's kind of like a second. I'm sorry, the two-step. That's kind of like a one-step in my mind. They were in Facebook, then they liked something on Facebook, versus somebody who was on a website and then liked something on Facebook.
Mhm.
Two-step, one-step. Does that make sense, guys? Yes, because I'm going to go on to my next point if it does.
Yep.
All right, cool. So I got to thinking, and a lot of this is is very similar, and I've been teaching this for a little bit back in I guess what was that, January, about going after interests that have. Oh, did you lose me?
No, we're there. Oh, there's someone. Who's there?
I don't know.
Darlin! We see Darlin!
That's pretty funny. Anyway, so shit, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so I've been teaching this for a little bit, and it's very similar to the Rob. I understand, man. I don't like using third-party tools, man, other than this audience insight tool. So, and this isn't a third-party tool. This is the only tool I really, and I do a lot. I do pretty well. So, and I'm not saying I know a lot of marketers that only use this and do very well. The only other third-party tool that I would use is Quaya or AdExpresso. So we got to thinking about how these interests are built up, and then we kind of understood that in a million people, like we were saying, there's different segments of people that convert and different people of segments that engage and click to website, right? So our job is to understand that and then understand that interests within that niche are built up in the very same way. A website conversion ad or a click to website is going to be more of your two-step people, right? They click to website. They're from Facebook and going off. Somebody here was off Facebook and then came on. But in the same sense, that's what a click to website is. And then you have the people that are in the engaged audience that Facebook deems, and those are the types of people that like stuff all the time. So I thought, what if we started using interests that represent those things inside the ad type that is closely associated with it, right? So what if I started running ads, PPE ads, only to interest like this? Only to interest like I support firefighter or some kind of community page, pages that are run by marketers because ultimately they liked a button, so they're already predisposed in my mind to be engaging people. And again, there's going to be some converters in there as well, but if I want to get my ad to be optimized to the best point, I want to make sure that I'm targeting people that already show a predisposition to that ad type. So I started targeting only community pages. I go through here and I find stuff. A lot of this stuff in the firefighters has a lot of businesses in it. So I started finding ones that are only marketers or community style pages or associations or something like that where they're not businesses. And I started targeting them with PPE ads, and we get really, really cheap results doing that. I mean, like back, sub 5 cents, sub 4 cents, even lower than that. I posted a picture and that was done, not too long ago. That was done in the same kind of fashion. So then I started being very descriptive or very selective with what I did with website conversion and click to website, and started only doing the businesses that have a presence outside of Facebook in physical or virtual worlds, right? So the businesses, the brick and mortars, things like that, magazines, where the loyalty of the people who like that interest are because of the brand that exists outside of Facebook, not just because they liked it to like it. And there are going to be some people in those interests that like it just to like it. But again, we're steering ads now towards people who are predisposed and being congruent with the thing that they're predisposed of with. Does that make sense, Phil? And
Yeah,
everybody?
yeah, it makes sense. I'm writing this down as well.
So, my old tactic would have been, okay, these are the highest correlated interest, right? The affinity is super high. But what I did is I stepped back and I said, anything above 20 I know is good. So what I want to do is stick with that, but then I'm going to be selective in this list. All right, this could go to my website conversion. This can go to my website conversion. Fire engineering, let's make sure I understand what that is. Actual business, that can go into my website conversion. And then kind of go through here. And I wouldn't include these right off the bat with my PPE ads. What I would do is select the other interests of the support or the community or those kinds of interests and just steer the PPE ads towards them. And then I'm kind of separating those people, similar to how Facebook does that with the million people in their audience, right? Facebook knows that there's people who are only over here, only in between, and only over here. So I'm doing the same thing, but I'm doing it with my ad types as well.
Have you seen a difference in the let's say if we compare a physical website like firehouse.com, and if we check in the stat up the ads clicked versus the a normal, like, let's say, normal community, and check the ads click, if there is a difference there also. I'm
You mean
curious about
uh,
that.
you mean the click to website?
Yeah, like if you go up like your stats, your
Yeah.
the custom audience, if you
Yeah.
just roll up there
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and you go into the activity, so you see like ads clicked 22. But if we compare that to, I'm just pointing out something out of nowhere, and if we're using
Oh,
an
okay. I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
and if we're pointing out just to compare with community, because I found very interesting your strategy here, and I want to see if there's a correlation somewhere with that. We're just talking loud here. Oh, you see, there's a small difference there. I'm not sure if there's really a correlation, but I mean, there's something interested here to see.
Um, Let me think about another one I could do here. Let's try.
For nurse, I support nurse. Everything is very low.
I've never relied on that information before, have you?
Yeah.
No, see that? See that?
That's,
That just
yeah.
shows no.
So it doesn't
I know
mean
that's not the
anything.
case.
No, because some people
No,
are,
makes sense.
yeah, some people are pushing that, as a reliable information, but I'm not sure it makes sense also with that. So it's why I was curious. But anyway, we were thinking loud.
No, I understand where you were going with that. I've just never relied on that because
Yeah.
that if this is true, then this in my mind is not true
Yeah. Exactly.
because
It doesn't make sense.
I
Exactly.
use that interest all the time.
No. Yeah. So.
So I don't know about that one. No. Uh, no, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're doing here is we're just being a little bit more selective, a little bit more steering our traffic. Obviously, some of these people are going to be in both groups, but I understand that Facebook is selective in the way that they target and kind of the way that they steer your ad to the people because I've seen it over and over again. I'll target a million people, but it's not a one in, one out. It's not like you're going to go from person one to person 1 million. You're going to hit a certain max. You're going to hit a certain limit, and eventually your frequency is going to spike, and you might not ever get to 1 million people. You might not even get close, depending on your audience. So I want to, if they're selective, and I'm creating different ads to hit everybody as I can, but I'm also trying to understand at that same point that the interests were built up to a certain point through certain means. Websites, you know, businesses, they have followings that brought people to their fan page. If I was to see a business on Facebook that it just popped up in my newsfeed, or I saw somebody else liked it that I like GMC, like I have a GMC. So if I saw that Facebook page in my newsfeed, I might like it because I'm predisposed to that brand through my association out of it, the fact that I own it. But I support GMC is not going to get my like. I'm not going to start following their content unless that content is shown to me in some fashion, like an ad, right? Or some kind of call to action.
We're
Hey,
back.
hello?
Yeah, I'm there.
Ah,
Yeah.
where did you guys? And somebody brought up a good point. I started looking around. Now you can hear me.
Yeah, we're there.
So somebody brought up a great point. So let's look at this. Maybe I'm learning something today. Hey, there you go.
Oh, here it is.
I had men on there. Good point. That's why
Ah,
when
it's
you do
why.
stuff over the shoulder, you I support nurses. It's about the same.
Ah, okay, here we go.
About the same. So I don't know. I'll dig into that and see how that goes out for us.
Yeah, if
But
you
I can
can.
tell you, we've buried a lot of money into especially over the last month. We buried a lot of money into steering and being very selective. We've been doing the very selective piece with the brick and mortars, right? And the magazines and the things like that that have the branding outside of Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I cut off, but I said a lot of stuff there. You know, the brand loyalty and you know, if I'm loyal to the brand, I'll like it on Facebook without really much convincing.
Mm.
And then you know, like GMC, I said something about GMC. Did you hear me that? Like
Yeah,
if I saw some, did you hear that part?
yeah, I heard that part. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's what I was just trying to go through. So if we want to go through a couple niches now to help people understand it,
Yeah. Someone
we can go
asked
through that.
about the hockey.
About what?
Hockey.
Oh, hockey.
Yeah,
Okay,
hockey.
so hockey. So Deepak, who are you trying to target there? A hockey player, a hockey fan,
Hockey fans.
hockey fans. So if you're trying to be general, and obviously I'm not going to condone you selling any kind of trademark or copyrighted material kind of thing. So if you're just trying to sell like a, a necklace that has a puck on it or something like that, right? What I would do is target the teams, right? The teams of people who would be loyal to hockey. So hockey fan is like really kind of it's not a difficult one, right? So you're going to want to do something like I'm a St. Louis Blues guy. So St. Louis Blues fanatics, St. Louis Blues. Oh, we don't have that.
No, because you're in woman. You're in
Oh, okay, yeah.
woman.
Let's reset here real quick before I start doing over the shoulder stuff. I guess there are some hockey fans in here. I am not a huge hockey person, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this. So St. Louis Blues, that's going to be, and that's a precise interest, by the way.
Mm.
See how it's a lowercase, but we just had that St. Louis Blues Fanatics. So you would want to get in your long tail keywords here as much as possible. That's not going to be a huge interest. We're not a gigantic team. Somebody else could probably point me to a bigger
Canadians.
team.
The
Red
Canadians.
Wings.
Oh, the Red Wings. Yeah.
So broad interest, precise interest.
Yeah.
Red Wings Fanatics, much bigger interest. You cannot use the name of teams. That's why I don't really like going into these interests because then we always get the questions of can we sell stuff like this? I mean, if you can figure out something to sell to hockey fans, then I would just target the teams that aren't target or copyrighted players. Target the teams, Deepak, yeah. Target the players. Target. I mean, it depends on how low you want to go, right? If you're going to target players, it's going to take you freaking forever. You could scale to that level, but it's going to take you forever to do all the players in the entire league if that's what you're aiming for. So it really is depending on what you're trying to sell. But I mean, teams are enough to get you if you're trying to sell something like a hockey puck that to hockey fans, you could go ahead and just do that.
Mm. Yeah. It's always touchy when you're talking about licensed product because it's a route that is quite, I will say, can be very dangerous, and especially if you're selling that. I mean, like on platforms like Teespring or the others, they will ban you right away. But even like if you own your own store, I would highly suggest that you consult a lawyer before doing anything in this type of niche, because most of the team are looking at every single thing that are going on with their brand. They have like people that are watching every day, like social networks, social sites, and everything of what is going on. So you have to be very, very, very careful about that.
Yeah.
Especially now, it's more crazy than ever, and all the teams are aware that a lot of people are marketing their brands without even having their product license. So you have to be very careful about that.
Yep. Yes, obviously. Yeah, you have to get a resale license. Well, if you go down that part and you get actually approved wholesalers and everything like that, but on the
Yeah.
surface level, when you're talking to people, you just have to point them in the direction of if you don't have officially licensed, if you don't have the rights to do it, then don't do it.
Mm.
And we're not going to go down the roads of how to get yourself a resale license and everything like that. So for soldiers, I've sold a lot of stuff to Marines, the Marine families. This was a long time ago. So soldiers being in the Army, we're going to go with, again, we can do the demographic. What I found that works out really well is that there's actually like pages around their bases, their platoons, and things like that. I mean, if you do the United States Army, you're going to get a ton of people, right? And you can go over here to the demographics, even if we cut it out a little bit. Yeah, that's what we're going over right now. So you got 59% of the women, 41% of the men. That's closely correlated to the actual population on Facebook, understanding that the majority of soldiers are men and not women. Depending on what you're trying to sell, if you're doing the wives, obviously you target the women, or you could reverse target to the men. But if I'm targeting the soldiers, like you're saying, the people who are actually serving, I'll start with men, and then if I can get deep enough, I'll take those same interests and then target the women. But there's such a discrepancy between who is, the male and female of who's actually serving that we'll start with the men. Okay.
Mm.
So 18, 21, it's a pretty darn good size. 65 and above, we'll go ahead and chop off here. If you're doing active duty, understanding that most people retire, what's the retirement age? We can go ahead and I'm blanking on the retirement age. Let's just go ahead and just do this for unless
55.
somebody pops
Yeah.
it up here. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and do
Yeah.
44. I
44.
like doing the when I'm doing this, if I see something like 55 or whatever, I'll just cut it off in the 54 to make it nice and clean. I'm a kind of a OCD like that, so there's not like a little hanging over here. So what I'll do is then go over to the page likes, and I'll try to look around to see what I can't get. I'll pop the affinity up. Um, and try to understand what exactly these are. Alpha Defense Company. That's a company. People could like that without actually being in the service. So United States Army might not be a great place for us to start. What we want to do is kind of go a little bit deeper. You could go over to Google and target list of Army bases. So I'm going to go ahead and look for, no, I'm sorry. Army platoons. Or divisions, there you go.
The Rangers.
So now what I'm doing is I'm kind of going a layer down. I'm not just going to target people who are in the United States Army. I can get the actual divisions. And so I can go and target Where's my audience insight tool? I'll pop that out. 11th, what was it? 11th Airborne Division. Not that big. Go back out a little bit. Yeah, not that big.
That's precise.
1st Cavalry. This is where I would start playing around with. And you're actually seeing how my process works, right? I'm doing this over the shoulder. I don't have anything. Ooh, how about 10th Cavalry?
Oh, yes, no.
It's not going to be that big. Oh,
No,
here we go.
at least.
No.
Not enough.
How about United States Army? Army Reserve. It's going to be a little bit more precise, right? We're at 1.5 million versus the 10 million. See what we can get here.
Hmm.
Let me do something real quick on this other screen. So I have targeted these before. They just might not be popping up in the sheet.
Yeah, sometimes it can take us. I mean, some time also to gather the right interest, especially when you're going into this big niche.
Yeah, because
Uh,
I don't want to just point you in the wrong direction here. I actually want to do the right thing here.
yeah.
Army States. So something I learned, um, Army Special Operations.
Command. Yeah.
Something I learned here was if I ever can't, because I get frustrated when I can't see what this is telling me, right? What I'll do is I'll get the ads manager out and I'll plug in the United States Army, and then it's much more of a clear thing here. And then I kind of just scan through here,
Yeah.
and then I found here. So yeah, you could like a veteran page. Somebody's asking about the veteran page. Yeah, I mean, obviously people who are active can like veterans, but you have to be very careful. Veterans are one of those things that we in the United States are held in very high regard, right? So they're
Mm.
almost like a celebrity status a little bit. Also, a lot of people will like a veteran page because of a relative who is a veteran, right? And that's me. Like I have a dad that's Marine Corps. I like it was in the Marine Corps, and I like his VFW. So that's the kind of stuff you have to be very, very, very sensitive to. So you might be able to find some in here, and then here's a lot of stuff, right? So you're going to have to go down here and plug away at some of these things. What I learned with the Army and what I learned with the Marine Corps when I was targeting them in the Navy and the Air Force as well is that using these very, very long tail keywords are going to get you pretty good results. And you might have to throw a lot of them in there. So you might have to show just a lot of them to make sure that everything's going to um, correlate with them. But like there's like the 74th Ranger Regiment or the 73rd. You can throw a lot of that stuff in here. It's a little bit different. We're just trying to build up very, very long tail keywords in a niche to avoid all the people who like Army related stuff just because it's a very passionate, very United States wide passionate niche. How do you narrow down the nerd niche? Is that considered a niche? That's a category. I'd say nerd is a category. You're going to have a lot of stuff like gamer, not a niche, it's a category.
Yeah.
So you have to go really, really down into what are you targeting?
Like there's so many sub niche attached to that. Like you say, since it's a category, like some people will be fans of I don't know, like Comic Con, let's say, but they are in the nerd category, let's say. So you will need to dig into any type of interest when it is at this kind of level. Same thing for gamers. Some people are fans of Warcraft, so but they're gamers, but they are living by the Warcraft rules, let's say. So it's totally another world. So each of them have their own behaviors that you'll need to find out. And some also, like, let's say Warcraft is big, but and at the same time it's a closed group, and there's so many things attached to that. Like, there's magazines, there's portal, there's a bunch of things attached to that. So you'll need to dig more to understand well the what this interest is about. Same thing for nerds, and geeks and whatever.
Hmm. Yep. James Bond says you go over tracking pixels in this webinar.
No.
That's a whole different webinar.
Exactly. This is a. We'll have a webinar just about that, and also I'm about to record a video on how to install properly your new custom audience pixel. I found out a new way to make it fired properly using Google Tag Manager as well. So I will get you updated about that very soon.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a great interest, Etif.
This is perfect. Is the oldest,
Everything's about the army.
yeah, and the 75th Regiment is the oldest for the Rangers. I was reading about that like 2 days ago.
Nice.
Yeah,
And you can see here, government organization. This is the legit page.
yeah.
I would take some of these interests and test it out. I mean, look, Army Special Forces, Army Special Warfare, U.S. Army. You have Third Special Forces Group Airborne. That's an Army regiment. 75th Regiment. This looks like plenty of stuff. Green Beret Foundation. I would look into that one. Just make sure that it's good. And then this is a Special Operations Command. Uh, I would think that these are all great to try to get a good amount of engagement with.
Mm. I think
All
you're
right.
right on.
What else, guys? You guys, does this all making sense to you? You have any other questions before? I mean, we almost been on here, what, almost only 45 minutes. So we can do a couple Q&As or whatever you want to do, even another niche or two to get over his shoulder.
The wolf using big. I mean, using big and using, there's different approach and there's different strategy. Uh, what I like from Matt is the way he's digging through the interest to get it the most precise and relevant as possible, than just throwing some few interests and then to figure out what is working. The other way, I don't know if Matt, if you're working like that, but now what I like to do is to regroup by theme. Regroup, like, let's say all the magazines in this niche, I will put them in all the same ad set, and all the community in the same ad set, or things like that. Just to be able, like, to monitor which one makes more sense. I know that some people are breaking down even like more granular, but on my side, this is the way I do. I don't do only one ad set where I put everything inside and get like a super ad set. um,
No,
I don't think it's very relevant anyway.
I do a very much, depending on what I'm running, obviously. So we've been doing more and more of it, of where we do what I was just telling you. So the website conversion ads get a certain type of interest. So anything that falls into that
Hmm.
that high affinity and physical presence or virtual presence outside of Facebook gets into the website conversions when we're testing that out and scaling it. And the PPE will get the types of ads, will get the communities and those kinds of interests that are built up by marketers. So then I will build up as much of an audience as I can, but then I will segment out ad sets based on how Facebook does it as well. So you can see here is 18 to 24. 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, so on and forth. That's my split as well in my ads when I'm testing it out. So I'm very, very much willing to spend, if I'm just targeting men here, I will spend 5, 10, 15, 20 testing out an offer to see if I get a response out of each one of these. Because then what I'll do is I'll just cut out those that don't respond and then scale up the ones that do. So I do a lot of my split testing on the front end.
And also the let's say the common factor here, and which is easier also to test at first, is the ages, since everybody fits in the same age group, instead of sub splitting things that doesn't make sense, or you can
Yeah,
even like split like the gender as well, if it's if you're touching at the same time men and women. But since the age group is I mean, you can only be 33, let's say, or 35 or 46, you cannot have two ages at the same time. Same for gender, and
yeah,
for interest, you can have multiple interests even if you are 44, So this is coming more tricky. So it's easier to split that at first by age group or gender.
yeah. Yeah, we do a lot of the segmenting there up front, just because ultimately we're gonna as you segment like that, you can drive much more traffic to it, right? You're having many more ad sets pointing to the same audience, but you're hitting a lot. You're not relying on just one ad to force it through that audience. It
Mm.
helps keep frequency lower, and it also helps you have a larger room to scale into. So that's why we do a lot of segmenting up front, and it just cuts out the riffraff. We'll take a little bit of a hit, kind of like buying data, even on the first day or two, to understand that if we do have a good offer, which I never launch an ad unless I have a good offer. Then I will go down the road of, uh, scaling up and segmenting out, and then you can always, there's always room to scale. Especially that's why I go after those million plus people.
Rob has an interesting question, and I'm getting also this question like every day. Audience intersect. Is talking right now about an approach, but a lot of people still wondering how it is working and if it's really effective, and how and where to use it, at what time to use it.
Um, I don't have audience intersect. I have flex, or if we need to intersect other things, we can do it through Quaya. So we do that when I'm if I'm doing two interests, right? If I'm trying to do two, my offer correlates with two different types of interests. It's much more scaled. The same way that people used to do it with T-shirts. I'm a coffee drinking wine lover or whatever. Whatever your interests are. That's when I use that. I don't really intersect interests within the same niche, if that makes sense. I always intersect two different niches. So what I'll do is I'll go down the line of doing the audience insight tool on one niche, and then I'll go down the line and do it in the other niche as well, right? And then I'll put both of those into the audience, into my flex tool. Yeah,
Yeah.
Quaya is awesome. It's well worth. It's expensive, right? It's 150 bucks, but more than makes it makes me a lot more than 150 bucks a month.
Yeah, and especially Koya just made the new updates that is working with the new pixels. So on my side, I will be testing it out. So I will give you some feedback about it. They just released that like 2 or 3 days ago, I think. They've changed also the objective, because before it was a bit complicated. You need to go, like, let's say in the Facebook Power Editor, created your ad, then bring it back, import it back into Quaya, and run your ads from there. Now you can do everything from Quaya directly. There was some like small glitches, let's say, but it has been always a very powerful tool to use. At Espresso, it's almost the same thing, but they have a different approach. I would say when you're doing ads, it's really ad espresso. It's very cool in the way that is built, but doesn't offer as much flexibility as Quaya. It's just like simple. It's more simple to put ads online. But like right now, like Ad Espresso doesn't let you use the new Pixel, so for me it's worthless. But they have like, let's say, a very good way of splitting ads and duplicating ads. Also like a easier, let's say, user experience than Quaya. But Quaya is definitely more precise, more information inside. Like you have access to all the behaviors. Like for me, since I'm in Canada, I don't have access that in my FB account, but with Quaya, I can have now access to that. Yeah, I would say they're both interesting. It's just at which level you're at to start tweaking your ads. The pricing is really the same. Also, I think it's like you say, $150 per month. So yeah.
Yep. I saw another question.
And it was like, do you target a large group or multiple interests? Yeah, we spoke about that. I see people selling necklaces that are theme after movies, actors, about selling Halloween costume. Halloween costume, I will tell you right now, it's too late. It's too late, especially if you're bringing that from China, from AliExpress. Forget about it. The people won't get it on time. You need to think about that like I would say like 6 months in advance, just to be sure. Because if there's any returns, anything like that, I mean, this is gonna be crazy. I would suggest that you sell Halloween costume only if you're thinking that in advance and you bring the stock in advance. Also, it's very, very, very difficult. What was the other thing? Like necklaces, theme. I mean, everything that is copyrighted, you have to be very careful. Just be sure to have licensed product
Yeah.
properly, or get a wholesaler. Like everything in China, it's very borderline, I will say. So
Yeah, just because it's on AliExpress doesn't mean that it's legal to sell that, right?
no,
Be aware of it. And there's plenty of money to be made outside of those areas. Don't go after the short-term money. You got to go after the long-term money,
yeah,
which is doing stuff that you can sell or get the license, right? I think Will was, like Will was talking about. Get a resale license. Sell stuff legitimately.
hmm
I mean, your margins might be a little tougher. I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough, but I imagine the more hands you have on it, the more people getting paid. So, but just there's plenty. If you don't have the resale license, sell something that doesn't have violate a copyright.
yeah. Anyway, if you're thinking long term, it's just good for your business, and yeah, it's just so you can be a trusted website also.
I don't understand the inspired by part.
Inspired by part.
Rob, I will go. I prefer to go to audiences of above 1 million. 1 million is technically kind of a small audience for what we tend to go for. I'm in the game for the long haul, so I'm going after niches and establishing myself in niches that I can be in for a very long time. So for me to do that, I want to be in the biggest niche I can. Now that being said, I do have a category page where I have a category that I sell to lots of the niches below it, kind of like dogs. So like if I have a dogs page, I have endless opportunity to sell to all the different types of dogs out there. So that's the kind of mentality that I have, and I suggest that to you only because if you're worried about selling to the very small niches, you're going to have to find more of them. Or you can have because I used to focus on a very small breed of dogs, them out on T-shirts after a couple months, and they just wouldn't buy T-shirts from me anymore. Teespring had a lot of growing pains around that time, unfortunately, too. So they weren't responsive to T-shirts anymore. Now I sell them physical products, and they love it. So that's the kind of mentality that we have long term.
Exactly. And when you find this, let's say this good product, almost evergreen with this good audience size, you can sell this product every single day for the rest of the year, and it will sell like crazy. So it's why the finding the right combination of the product and the right size of audience is very important as well.
Yeah. So if you're coming over here and you're taking a page and it doesn't show up here, move on to the next one. Some will not show up here. It almost seems like a two-stage type of indexing that Facebook does. You have the ability they get indexed to a point where this shows up, and then they might get indexed to a point where they show up here. So that doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason for it that I can really put like a hard number on. But I would just go ahead and if this interest doesn't come up, go on to this one. If that comes up, go on to this one. If that doesn't come up, keep going. Did you say that where you can access all the data and insights? I'm in South Africa and only get limited to that right now. I don't know. Is that the case, Phil?
Normally, yes, because Quaya connects directly to Facebook API, so it bypass your. It doesn't care about where you're at. So like for me right now, I have like more information using Quaya than I'm using like the Facebook Power Editor, because it's using like the direct API, like I said.
Cool.
Um,
No, you guys, here's a big thing about competition. And a lot of people say this about the Audience Insight tool, which I kind of there is so many ads being driven to everyone at all points in time. Competition, you have to remember that you're a very small fish in a very big pond. I used to work for a company that spent more a month not necessarily doing everything that we would do, but spend more a month in Facebook ads than we would probably in a lifetime that we're going to be spending here. And so you have to remember that you're a very small fish. So when you're going after something and you're going after a niche or a big niche, there's not high competition. What you have to remember is if you're going to go into something where there's quote unquote high competition or any niche for that matter, you have to be unique in some fashion. You have to be standing out. Your offer has to be good. You're like, attractive. Your shirt has to be something they haven't seen 1,000 times before. It has to be a new type of shirt, a creative type of shirt with good colors, a good pop out background on your ad, good strong call to action, good targeting too, but competition is kind of it's a silly thing to think or to worry about because everybody on here, no matter what interest that I'm in, all gets rolled up to eventually be everybody in the United States, right?
mm,
And there's companies out here that slam everybody in the United States.
mm.
I mean, you think about uh, Anheuser-Busch, 21 and above, they're probably going to target you. GMC, if you're 18 and above, they're probably going to target you. All the Amazon, it's going to throw everything at everybody at all times. They're going to do it, and they're throwing so much money at it. So don't get caught up in the high competition. Just worry that your product is unique and you're not just offering the same damn thing that everybody else is. Make sense?
Make total sense. The only competition is you.
Yeah.
That's it.
I was told that when I got into the nurse niche, I was told that, oh, dude, that's just a sad thing. This is Phil. I know you were around this at this point.
Yep.
This was like 2 years ago at this point. Everybody's like, oh, it's so saturated. You can't sell. There's no way you can sell insurance. So I started doing it, and we've made a lot of money in the nurse niche.
Mm.
And you just have to find your angle in and be a good marketer and find the right way to drive the purchase. Always be closing.
And there's space for everybody. That's for sure. And especially in those big niche, there's space for everybody. You just have to find the right product, and that's it. I mean, you can make it as well. So, guys,
All
any
right.
other questions before we close the call? No? Great. Oh, mainly B2B personal question, but are you just mainly selling t-shirts?
No, no. I sell a lot of T-shirts, but we've been selling a lot of outside physical product. I saw somebody asking for a list link too. Is that okay for me to drop in here, Phil?
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah, if you want, I just did it dirty here. Hold on one second.
But guys,
If you want to learn more, just go ahead and follow that.
yeah. And guys, most of the people that were doing T-shirt moved. A lot of people moved to physical products, and the main reason is that it's not because it's getting saturated. It's because you have this huge list, huge people that are following now, and there's other thing that you can offer besides T-shirts. And the other thing also is the margin of the product available right now. A T-shirt is let's say the cost is $8, let's say on Teespring, and on the other platform it's going to be like 12 or $13, let's say with the printful. So the margin that you have for to sell it is very low. And also another very important thing is T-shirt. The perceived value of a T-shirt is probably lower than, let's say, a watch. You know, so, and a watch
Yeah.
will cost you probably $2 or $3 to get it, instead of $8 for a t-shirt. So there's more space into the physical products, and especially for perceived value product, than it is for t-shirts. So at a certain time, when you want to scale, you will need to jump up also in the physical world. But I think and you can correct me on your side also, Matt, but I think the T-shirt was the best school I've started. I mean, I've the best school to learn, because I find it so tough. You need to have like new let's say new design every day. You need to compete with also a lot of people that are selling a lot of similar stuff, and sometimes also a lot of copycat. And yes, in physical you will get the same thing, but because of the margin is so low to get to there, it's more difficult. So you have to put your mind on and to work your ass off to make it happen more, and as soon as I switched to physical product, I've seen like, oh my god, okay, it is so easy. No, it's not. It is so easy. Is I've worked so hard first that now it's more easy to make it happen on physical product, because you understand better the audience that you've worked with. So the switch
Yep.
is better. So learn the hard way. Then after that you will be able to get all your the result from your work easier after. And it's going to be also easier to scale later.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. T-shirt game, while it is it's one of the it's kind of crazy, right? When you tell people that you sell a bunch of T-shirts, and and they're like, well, do you have any inventory? Where's your store? Where's your warehouse? I'm like, I don't have anything. I've never even the only T-shirts I've ever seen of myself are the ones I bump into people wearing, or the ones I buy for myself, right? So it's kind of a unique thing, and it's kind of the change of the times, right? We don't need a brick and mortar, all the investment, all the overhead, and all that stuff, because you have a company that's helping you do and take care of all that, right? And that's it's very, very crazy when you think about it, but at the same time, it's an awesome learning opportunity for you just getting started. It is kind of a baptism by fire, because you do have to constantly come up with new designs, come on and keep chasing that. And you're always stuck within a certain pricing point, right?
Mm.
So if your price point is always $19.99 to $24.99, you're only hitting a certain segment of your audience in itself, and you're very limiting. So you can come in with a $10 offer, or a $4 offer, or a $100 offer, and make more money, or additional money, or add another additional stream of income, because you're hitting somebody else that has maybe $100 to spare, or only has $10 to spare. So that's kind of one of the unique things that I've even seen even moving them into the physical product world, where you don't have, it's not like it's not just a slam dunk, right? It's not you're still gonna have people that don't have $10 to spare, but then of course they wouldn't have the $25 to spare or the $100 to spare. So having products available at different price points allows you to add more revenue to your bottom line, and helping you grow your business because they're not just slammed with T-shirts anymore. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Totally. Um, Someone was asking about Amazon versus Shopify. I will answer that very straightforward. It's two stream of revenues. Both are good. It's probably easier and faster to get selling product even tonight on Shopify than on Amazon, because Amazon will require you like a bunch of things to fill out to get there. But in, let's say, in the midterm, not in the long term, but in the midterm, and especially if you have branded product, Amazon is probably one of the best place to go to get extra revenues. That's for sure. eBay
Yeah.
as well. eBay as well.
Having control of your business on all aspects is much more powerful than, be playing in somebody else's
Yeah.
backyard. I'm sorry. So Amazon, if you can do it, I would do it, right? People crush it on Amazon because there is just a massive amount of traffic.
Mm.
But I've known people that take products off of Amazon and put them onto Shopify because they have much more control of the entire process and the buyer info.
Absolutely. Yeah, the buyer info, exactly, because Amazon will not give you anything about your buyers as well. So yeah, that's part of the game. I think we've answered pretty much everything right now, and it's has been 2 hours that we're with you. And I would like to thank Matt for his time. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely.
appreciated. Like I've learned some stuff also today that I want to start testing like right away. Pretty excited about that. And yes, guys, thank you also for being there. I will get the recording like probably tonight, and we'll see you very soon with another webinar, hopefully in the next upcoming weeks also. And yeah, that's it. So Matt, thank you very much again.
Appreciate it, Phil. Thank you for having me on. Thank you guys for your time. I know it's everybody's busy, so thank you very much for coming on.